Hello there, YouTube. This is the Rogue Gem Player, and coming at you with a weather deck profile. It's pretty cool. I thought I'd bring it out. It's pretty neat. It's kind of one of those decks where it can play certain like cards because of the way the game works, and it's just one of those um, decks that just plays this weird concept of spell traps that can kind of dodge a lot of hand traps. All right. First things first, we're playing 3 copies of the Weather Painter Snow. So all the Weather Painter monsters have um, an on-field effect um, to either add, place, or some form of spell trap from the archetype. But they also all have the same effect where if they are banished to activate the effect of a weather card, you can special summon them during the next standby phase. So in this one, you place a weather spell trap from deck to face up on your field, which is cool because it gets around Ash Blossom. And then if you combine it with other cards, you can dodge Imperm, Valor, and things like that. So it is 0 attack, so keep that in mind. But it's a level 3. With one exception, all of the main deck ones are level 3. So we're then playing 3 copies of the Weather Painter Thunder. He's really good because, one, he's a 1700 beater if you need it, but also you can send any face-up continuous spell trap to place a weather from deck. So how you use this, you can use other spell traps. So it allows you to trade in one for any of the ones that you actually need, which is pretty cool. And they have the painter effect. The last 3 is 3 copies of the Weather Painter Cloud. For a long time, until Dimension Force came out, this card was absolute garbage. And I mean absolute garbage. You never wanted to play it. You needed it for a name to search. But now this is one of the best cards in not only your grind game, but also one of the best cards in the deck because anytime a face-up weather card you control is sent to the graveyard, it doesn't matter if it's a monster, okay, spell or trap, you can take 2 Weather Painter spell traps from your graveyard, place them in your spell and trap card zone. They have to be different names because unfortunately the spell traps only allow you to play one of each on the field at a time. So this card makes it so that our field spell, basically you don't lose anything for it. And I'll get to that one in a minute. And then for the only one-ohms, we're playing 1 copy of the Weather Painter Sun and 1 copy of the Weather Painter Aurora. So Sun, if it's in the graveyard, you send a face-up spell trap to special summon it, and then you place a weather spell trap from your hand to your face-up field. So it allows you to act. So it's kind of one of those you can put in the graveyard if you need it, and then it's kind of there as a one of those link laddering cards when you need it, and also allows you to kind of trade out painter cards if you need them. And then Aurora, when normal summon, places any weather painter from anywhere except for your banish, and also it protects all of your spell traps from being destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So that's all the weather painter monsters. We're then for the non-engine hand traps. 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. You kind of have to play this. It's the best hand trap in the deck, next to probably maybe Dimension Shifter. We are playing 3 copies of Nibiru. So this card is actually pretty neat. So the way the deck works is you're using the spell traps which give effects to banish themselves as quick effects to do an effect. So what you can do is if your opponent goes on their 5th summon, you can play the Nibiru and then chain all of your monsters' effects, and now your monsters aren't tributed because they're off the board, and you just nuke your opponent's board. It's actually pretty cool. So, and then 2 copies of Dimension Shifter. The deck you can banish your monsters. You're banishing your monsters anyway, so it's kind of one of those. It's pretty cool, but you don't want to draw multiples because you really can't use it after turn 1, and also it conflicts with the spell traps because the spell traps have to be in the graveyard to recur with Cloud. So for the spell traps, we're playing 3 copies of the field spell, the Weather Forecast. When activated, selects any. You can place any Weather Painter spell trap onto the field, and then you can once per turn get an additional normal summon for a painter the weather monster. But also, when it's on the field, you can use the spell traps as link material. Unfortunately, we only have link 3s, so you do have to keep that in mind. But combined with cloud, if you use cloud, if you keep the cloud on board and you use like a snow and 2 spell traps, you can recur the spell traps instantly, so you're not losing any advantage playing it. So you're basically trading one monster for the link monsters in this case. And then probably the best card in the second best card is Snowy Canvas. It is a Rhoda. When you basically any the painter cards also have an additional thing where they bestow this effect when on the monsters in the same column or adjacent. Banish this card, add a weather card from deck to hand. It does lock you from adding cards from deck to hand outside of drawing for the rest of the turn, so keep that in mind. How you play sequence, like Pot of Dualities or Pot of Prosperities, whatever you play, because that will jam you for the rest of the turn. So, and then the only one of weather painter card is the one Rainy Canvas. This is a spell trap bounce, but it's also a name you can search and kind of just recur if you need it. You kind of need names rather than their useful effects in most cases. And then we're playing 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. You won't use your entire extra deck. You're kind of using this to dig for your key cards, because unfortunately, unless you want to play pure erase maps, Snow is not really searchable all that much. And I really don't want to play pure erase map. That card is just pay half to get negated is not fun. And then 1 Call by the Grave for other things. And then I'm going to explain this right now. We're playing 1 copy of Xyz Force and 1 copy of Flormer Xyz. This is mainly in here because we are playing a lot of level 3s that kind of recur themselves to a point. So it's always nice to have monsters on board. But the main thing is that you have a lot of extra deck space, so I thought, why not play it? It does the combo involving these cards, or at least the play that makes the rank 3, will give you a free draw in the process as well. So it's kind of neat. So for the weather painter traps, we're playing 2 copies of Rainbow Canvas. Basically, if your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon a painter with a different name from your deck by banishing one of the weather painter monsters. So basically, you trade one to get one, and that allows you to get more monsters on board. You can get whatever painter monster. You can trade Snow out for Clouds. You can use Clouds effect. You only need 2. You always have access to it. You always can recur it if you need it. So keep that in mind. And then we're playing 2 copies of Thundery Canvas. This basically turns all of your monsters into, when this card attacks, you bounce the monster by banishing, the painter monster. So and because you're negating during damage step, they don't get a replay. So you can just get rid of monsters that way. 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, best hand trap of the game. And then because all of these effects are banishing as cost, they are not on the field. So you can play cards such as Skill Drain, which is really cool because you can actually turn this off by using Thunder. So Thunder can actually turn this off. It jams everything on board, that type of thing, so it's really cool. So for the extra deck, it's kind of like whatever you want it to be. The first 3 cards you kind of have to play 1 copy of Moonbow, and then 2 copies of Rainbow. Weather Painter Rainbow. So how these cards work is, I'll explain Rainbow first because it came first. When your opponent special summons a monster, you can, if you control this link summon card, you can send it to the graveyard and negate the summon. It then bestows an effect to all the painters that it points to, and that is when a card effect is activated, you can ban it, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy the card. So it basically turns all of your monsters that it points to into Omni negates. In addition to that, it does also have the painter effect where if it's banished, it recurs itself. So keep that in mind. And then Moonbow is kind of unique. When link summon, you special summon a banished painter monster. So if you have one that's kind of stuck there for whatever reason or another, you can recur it. And then if this card is link summon, if this link summon card is destroyed, it floats into Rainbow if you need it. That's why you don't need. That's why you play the second one generally. And then it does bestow a quick effect where you can banish that card and then target one of your opponent's cards. They control one of your opponent's monsters and then banish it till the next standby the next turn. So it can temporarily get rid of monsters until you really need them to get rid of them. But it's not really as great as Rainbow. Rainbow makes everything on Omni negate, and that's just amazing. So, and then extra deck, generic link stuff, IP, Hida because we're playing fire, and then Nightmare Unicorn, Selene, Promethean Princess for the Amblo Whale combo. If you have access to it, you should play it. And then for the Link 4s, Amblo Whale, Appaloosa, and Access Code. You have a lot of free extra deck space. You have a lot of options, so it always helps to take advantage of that. So, and then for the Xyz package, playing one armored torpedo, one armor fortress, one copy of Crystal Zero Lancer, and then the one copy of Dark Knight Lancer. This is part of the combo. So basically, how this works is you link summon into Xyz Torpedo. Use this effect to draw a card, and then you make Armored Xyz on top of it, detach, and either add Xyz Force or Full Armor Xyz. Add those to your hand, and then you go into Crystal Lancer and then Dark Knight Lancer, and what this does is allows you to have a 3,400 attack point monster combined with the trap, okay, in the graveyard to attach the Armor Torpedo from your graveyard, and now you have a card that your opponent can't answer to when attacking. It's also unaffected by it cannot be targeted by card effects. So what makes this really cool is now you have a kind of a bigger monster that can kind of get you into plays, and it's very searchable because you don't actually have to search the cards. You just need to make Armored Torpedo and kind of do things. Now in the event that you kind of get jammed up, you do have other plays. Link summoning and that type of thing. So, yeah. Other than that, it's a cool deck. There's a lot of different ways you can play it. It completely depends on your playstyle. They do need to release like a new main deck monster. They're still missing, I believe, red. If you're going by colors, I believe they're still missing red. One of these days they will give it to us. Other than that. Thank you for stopping by, guys. Comment, rate, subscribe. Help me get to 100 subs, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.